Have you ever sat across from a girl you really liked, laughed with her for hours, and felt something real, only to find out later she started dating someone else? Someone who barely seemed to try. That feeling, that specific confusion, that quiet devastation of wondering what you did wrong. I want to talk about that today because you probably replayed every conversation. You looked for the mistake. You told yourself you weren't good looking enough or funny enough or confident enough. And that story you told yourself, it's been running in the background ever since, shaping how you show up every time you meet someone new. I'm your host, and this is The Gentle Mind, where we uncover the real psychology that creates desire. Not the surface stuff, not the pickup lines, but the deep, invisible mechanics that most men were never taught. And I'll warn you now, the final signal on this list is incredibly powerful. Almost no one uses it correctly, but when you understand it, everything shifts. So, let's start with the truth, the painful one. You weren't rejected because you were too nice. You weren't rejected because you weren't her type. You were rejected because attraction doesn't follow logic, and nobody ever explained that to you. This was never your fault. Nobody taught you this. The men who seem to naturally draw women in, they didn't learn it from a book or a classroom. They stumbled into it often by accident, and they can't even explain why it works. But it does work, and today you're going to understand exactly why. Here's the framework. Female attraction is not a decision, it's a response. It's a biological, psychological, subconscious reaction that happens before a woman even consciously registers what she's feeling. Evolutionary psychology has studied this for decades. Women are wired to scan for specific signals, not consciously, not deliberately, but automatically. Safety, strength, resourcefulness, mystery. These are ancient checkboxes that her nervous system is running through whether she wants to or not. And here's the critical part. Those signals have almost nothing to do with how you look or how much money you have. They're behavioral, they're energetic, they're patterns you can learn, practice, and embody. Once you understand the signals she's scanning for, you stop chasing, you stop performing. You simply become someone her biology responds to. So, let's talk about what girls actually do when they want you. Not just what they say, but what they do. Because actions are the real language. And once you know how to read them, you'll never misread a situation again. The first thing she does is find reasons to be near you. Not obvious reasons, subtle ones. She sits closer than she needs to. She shows up in the same spaces. She creates proximity without making it look intentional. This is called anchoring behavior. When a woman is drawn to someone, she unconsciously reduces the distance between them. She wants to be in your orbit. Not because she's planned it, because her body is pulling her there. If you've been noticing this from someone in your life, pay attention. Proximity is data. Now, here's the first trigger you need to understand: masculine presence. This is not about looking strong or talking loud. Presence is about grounded energy. It's about being completely in the room you're actually in, not distracted, not performing, not trying to impress, just still, just there. Women are biologically attuned to detect scattered versus centered energy. A man who is anxious, seeking approval, always checking how he's landing. He signals low social value without saying a single word. A man who is calm, unhurried, and doesn't need the room to validate him. He signals something ancient, something that says this man has already arrived. You don't need to dominate a room. You need to be at peace inside one. Presence is the foundation. Without it, none of the other signals land correctly. The second thing she does when she wants you, she remembers things you said, small things, details you barely notice. Saying she'll bring them back up days later. She'll reference a joke from 3 weeks ago. She'll ask how that thing went. The thing you mentioned in passing. This is not accidental. When a woman is interested, she's listening at a different frequency. She's filing information because some part of her is already investing in you. And this brings us to the second trigger, intentional listening. Most men listen to respond. They're already forming the next sentence while she's still talking. But a man who actually listens, who pauses, who recalls, who says, "Hey, you mentioned last week that you were nervous about that. How did it go?" That man creates something rare, emotional safety. She feels seen. And feeling seen is one of the most powerful drivers of female attraction that exists. It's not flowers, it's not grand gestures. It's the small, specific act of making her feel like she matters enough to remember. Do this, and she'll choose you over the man who bought her dinner every time. Third, when a girl wants you, she initiates contact for no real reason, a meme, a random thought, a song she heard. The text isn't really about the content. The text is the message. It means she was thinking about you and she wanted a reason to reach out. These are green lights. Most men miss them because they're looking for the obvious signal, not the subtle one. Now, let's go deeper. The third trigger is emotional challenge. This one is misunderstood. It's not about being difficult or playing games. It's about polarity. Attraction requires a difference in energy. When you agree with everything she says, laugh at everything she does, and make yourself completely available at all times, you remove the polarity, you become comfortable. And comfort, as warm as it is, does not create desire. Desire needs an edge, a small, playful challenge, teasing her gently about her certainty, disagreeing with a smile, holding your position when she pushes back. This creates emotional electricity. Her brain interprets it as, this man has his own world. I'm not guaranteed access. And that uncertainty, that slight not knowing, triggers the same neurological pathway as reward-seeking behavior. She starts to pursue the resolution. She starts to move toward you. Don't be a pushover. Don't be aggressive. Just be a man who has standards and isn't afraid to show them. If this is resonating with you so far, hit subscribe and join the Gentle Mind community. It helps more men learn what they were never taught. There are men watching this right now who are going to completely change how they show up, and you're one of them. The fourth signal she sends when she wants you. She gets a little competitive. She notices who you talk to. She makes slightly pointed comments when another girl is mentioned. She brings herself back into the conversation. This isn't insecurity on her part. It's biology. It's pre-selection and action. When a woman senses that other women find you attractive, her own attraction increases. It's irrational. She knows it's irrational, but it happens anyway. And this connects directly to the fourth trigger, selective attention. Selective attention means you have a full life. You're not waiting by the phone. You're not canceling your plans to be available. You have friends, interests, ambitions, spaces she doesn't belong to yet. Scarcity of attention is not cruelty. It's honest signal that your time has value. A man who gives his complete, undivided, constant attention to a woman before she's earned it is telling her subconsciously that she is the most important thing in his world and everything else is secondary. That may feel romantic to her nervous system. It reads as low value. She can't help it. She's scanning for a man whose life is already full because that man is the one worth entering. Be that man. Not as a manipulation, as a reality. Build a life that is genuinely full, and your presence in her world becomes something she has to earn. Fifth signal, her body language shifts when you're around. She touches her hair. She angles toward you even when talking to someone else. She laughs a little quicker, a little louder. She holds eye contact slightly longer than necessary. These are not performed. They're autonomic responses. Her nervous system is reacting to your presence in a way she can't fully control. If you're seeing these, you're already further along than you realize. This brings us to the fifth trigger, gradual physical touch. Touch is the most direct language between two human beings. But timing and context are everything. Too much, too fast, and it reads as aggressive. None at all, and the connection stays in the abstract. Warm, but floating, never landing. The goal is calibrated, light, respectful contact. A brief touch on the shoulder when you're laughing, guiding her slightly when you're moving through a crowd. These small moments of physical contact release oxytocin in both of you. That's the bonding chemical. It creates warmth, trust, closeness. It moves a connection from intellectual to embodied. Start small. Stay respectful. Let the touch say, "I'm here. I am present. I notice you." Not, "I'm trying to get something from you." The sixth thing she does when she wants you to, she brings you into her inner world. She tells you something she doesn't tell everyone, a fear, a memory, a thing she's ashamed of or proud of that she doesn't share casually. This is an invitation. She's testing the water. She's checking whether you'll handle her real self with care or whether you'll flinch or dismiss her. This is one of the most sacred moments in early connection. And how you respond here will either open the door completely or close it quietly. The sixth trigger is calibrated vulnerability. This is the most misunderstood principle in male psychology. Most men fall into one of two traps. They either never share anything real, they stay surface level, guarded, impenetrable, and she can't connect to someone she can't see, or they overshare early, turning every conversation into an emotional unloading, which signals instability. Calibrated vulnerability means you share real things at the right moments. You let her see you, your genuine thoughts, your actual fears, your honest perspective on something, but you share it with groundedness. Not as a plea for sympathy, not as a performance, just as a man who knows himself well enough to speak honestly about his inner world. That kind of openness delivered without desperation is extraordinarily rare and extraordinarily attractive. The seventh signal she sends, she creates inside jokes with you. She builds a private language between the two of you. She references something only the two of you understand. This is a claiming behavior. She's creating a world that only includes you. Pay attention when this happens. She's not doing it by accident. And now the final trigger, the one I warned you about at the start, the one almost no one uses correctly, controlled unpredictability. Here's why it works. The human brain is wired to pursue uncertain rewards more intensely than guaranteed ones. This is called variable reward reinforcement, the same mechanism behind why people can't stop checking their phones. When you are completely predictable, always available, always warm, always responding within seconds, you remove the uncertainty. And without uncertainty, there's no dopamine release, no excitement, no anticipation. You become comfortable and she starts to take you for granted without even meaning to. Controlled unpredictability doesn't mean being hot and cold. It doesn't mean ignoring her to make her anxious. It means you're genuinely multidimensional. Sometimes you're deeply present and engaged. Other times you're focused on your own world and she waits. Sometimes you say the unexpected thing. Sometimes you go quiet. Not because you're playing games, but because you are an actual complex human being with depth. She hasn't fully mapped yet. That sense of "I haven't figured him out completely" is one of the most powerful drivers of sustained attraction. You are not a formula. You are not predictable. And that keeps her curious. That keeps her coming back. So here's where we land. You are not broken. You have never been broken. You were operating without information. Every man who struggles with women isn't lacking something. He's missing a map. And now you have one. The signals, the triggers, the invisible language she's speaking when she wants you to step forward. Masculine presence, intentional listening, emotional challenge, selective attention, calibrated vulnerability, gradual physical touch, controlled unpredictability. These are not tricks. These are not manipulations. They are the real mechanics of how human attraction works at a deep psychological level. Use them honestly. Use them with respect. Use them as a man who genuinely cares about the woman in front of him. Not as someone trying to manufacture a result, but as someone who is showing up as his fullest self. That's the difference. That's always been the difference. You don't need perfection. You need strategy. You don't need to become someone else. You need to become more of who you already are. But with clarity, with intention, and with the quiet confidence of a man who finally understands the game he's playing. The man who understands this doesn't chase. He becomes. And the right woman will feel that from across the room. If you're ready to stop chasing and start becoming the man women genuinely desire, subscribe to The Gentleman now. Turn on notifications because the next one will shift your reality.